Good morning, these United States of America. I hope you're all having a fine Thursday.
We are the TCW News Broadcast, here to report the latest news on our most recent war, the Civil War.
We're going to start by passing it off to Morgan Egan with the latest. Morgan?
Good morning and welcome to the TCW Broadcasting Channel. I'm Morgan Egan and I'm here to talk about recent heroes in the war that struck America. These two figures are both generals. One of these generals is the Confederate General, Robert E. Lee. Lee's battle happened just yesterday. He defeated Joseph Hooker at Chancellorsville. Lee thought about this battle and Hooker and came up with different strategies that Hooker wouldn't be able to think of. Lee thought about the idea of dividing his army into two. Hooker fell back into defensive position. Once Lee attacked, Hooker was forced to retreat. This marks another hard-fought battle by both sides. Now on to the Union General Ulysses S. Grant. Also recently, Grant moved his troops to Vicksburg, Mississippi, which is a Confederate fortress. He attacked with the intent to take over the city. We don't have a lot of information on this battle yet, but we'll update with any new information we receive.
Hi, I'm Laura McKinnon here, reporting live to you about recent medical treatments that are being utilized on the battlefield. To start, home remedies such as alcohol disinfectant or inebriation methods are being used during surgeries such as amputations. Other medical theories to help disease are procedures such as purging, blistering, bloodletting, and homeotherapy, and these are recently new to the medical field. The goal of these treatments is a way to reverse the disease, but oftentimes it does not change anything or it creates the soldier to go into excruciating pain. Vaccinations for smallpox, measles, and malaria are being offered to soldiers that enlist in the war. Although American medicine is not as advanced as European treatments, we are succeeding more and more on the battlefield each day. U.S. doctors are going to Europe to learn 19th century medical treatments that are not offered here in the U.S. We are stretching through to the end of the war while more physicians are being trained on the battlefield. Although the military can only support one medical school, this decreases the amount of trained doctors that we have on the battlefield. In total, there are around 55,000 doctors and physicians on the battlefield, men and women alike. Surgeon General Alexander Hammond has been a great help to the war by removing mercury, tartar emetic, and other substances to prevent soldiers from being poisoned. Now I'm going to hand it over to Adam Sakti, who is going to talk more about women's contribution to the Civil War. Laura McKinnon, TCW News Broadcast.
Hello, this is Adam Sakti talking about the importance of women in the Civil War. Thousands of women in the North and the South are joining the Army. Women in the North are helping by becoming nurses, school teachers, and spy. When the men would go to war, women would keep government documents and keep the factories and farms going. Women would sometimes dress as men and fight on the first line and become nurses illegally. Nurses would have to travel from hospital to hospital to help the injured. Women would bring supplies to soldiers. Free African American women would become cooks and laundresses. In the South, women would make food and give clothes. The Confederacy would take men slave, so women slave had to work twice as hard, and women slave owners had to start working. The war gives women many new responsibilities. Thank you, Lauren. Now I'm going to pass it on to Lorelei Rich.
I'm Lorelei Rich, reporting with a TCW broadcast here at the 54th Massachusetts Camp at Fort Wagner, South Carolina. The 54th Massachusetts Regiment is the first volunteer military unit to consist of black soldiers raised in the North. This regiment has a specific and rigorous enlistment process. With the Emancipation Proclamation, state governors are responsible for raising regiments, and Massachusetts is the first state to fill a regiment with all African American members. The 54th Massachusetts faces some opposition because people doubt its members' ability to fight, but Massachusetts Governor John A. Andrew believes that African American men are capable of leadership. So, in February of 1863, recruiting for the 54th Massachusetts began using newspapers, recruiting posters, and soon 72 people of the 54th Massachusetts began training at Camp Meigs in Reedville, Massachusetts. Then, on May 14, 1863, there were 1,000 men and white officers. On July 16, 1863, the 54th Regiment fought at the Battle of Grimbal's Landing and acted as a diversion for the later attack on Battery Wagner. This provided the 54th Regiment with combat experience. Yesterday, July 18th, they led an attack on Fort Wagner on Morris Island. The leading Union soldiers at Battery Wagner were the men of the 54th Massachusetts Regiment under command of Colonel Robert Gould Shaw. The 54th Regiment pushed on until coming within 100 yards of the Confederate line, at which point the order was given to charge. Shaw gathered his men and led them through the moat and up the slope, where Shaw was killed in hand-to-hand combat on top of the slope, but the men continued to fight. This troop suffers from heavy losses, such as the loss of their commander, Colonel Shaw, and of the 600, 200 were killed, wounded, captured, or missing or presumed dead. But despite everything, the importance of this unit is that it shows the bravery, courage, and sacrifice of its members. And this regiment will go down in history as a crucial part in helping African Americans and African American soldiers gain their well-deserved respect.
Thank you, Lola. This is Kenzie Vick coming at you with a 60-second segment on how slaves are helping the Civil War. Us people in the Union may not know how they are helping the Civil War, and they may be doing more than you think. Slaves that are still on plantations are undermining some of the Southerners' plans and working as a man on the inside. Slaves that have escaped from their plantations are working as cooks, nurses, and blacksmiths. Also, some of them are joining the Army, and there's over 179,000 slaves in the Army right now. Slaves that are working as cooks, nurses, and blacksmiths aren't getting paid as much, but I think that we should respect all of the slaves that are working for our country, especially as soldiers, because at the end of the day, they are out there risking their lives for us and to preserve the Union and to end slavery.
Thank you all for joining us on this monumental Thursday morning.
We hope that this broadcast has sufficiently informed you on the events and people of the Civil War. Join us back on Thursday mornings for more information. Updates will be posted on our newsletter shortly. Again, thank you for joining us this morning.